noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, thank you to all for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, as the love and support everyone shares and sends my way. From the heart, gracias. Also, do please like, share, subscribe, and hype the video to help the message get out there a little more. Well, everyone, today I want to touch on a Pili that is big, right? For what it takes control of, but it's not really heard of a lot, right? Per se. But I want to take you back on this 2013. Yeah, 2013. And the Pili I'm speaking on is Shorty from Playboys, right? And I was supposed to put this story out before the last Playboy story, right? But anyways, starting off with I came across words with Shorty, right? First off, he was well said Pili. What I mean by that is he didn't really need too much help, right? You could say he crossed over with the four letters and had his own thing going. It was more so down in Sur de Califas, right? Where he had his neighborhood in the east side plugged in, west side, south side, and other places Flavors is at down south, right? But around 2013, he got at the homie Pelon from Eastside Playboys. He was up there and Toro was up there too from Eastside Playboys. For those that know Toro, you know Toro. He's just one of them individuals you look at and you just don't forget, right? But anyways, both homies were a little bit older than myself. For one, Pelon, he was just that type of person that he don't look his age, right? But nevertheless, his mind, you could tell right away, he been around. But anyways, in the compa where I was at, how it became, I'm not gonna say a problem, because again, I was nobody, but it was brought up to a topic, right? That a vato got there by the name of Mouse from Eastside Playboys. This individual Mouse, he had been in positions of power, right? Had been in Corcoran Shoe already, and around 2008, 9, somewhere there, when he got given a position, IGI came and basically picked him up, right, as part of the program and as part of the Wiggles. But instead of holding tough, dude buckled up. He locked it up, point blank, right? Now, again, Shorty's a private individual, so he don't tell, you don't ask type of thing, right? And but there's a history there between Mouse and himself, right? But again, he wasn't obligated to tell nobody anything like myself, right? But anyways, of course, when he got to the pot, my responsibility is, you know, get it the 411, get his version of things, and of course, pass it on, right? And out of respect, him being from Playboys, and supposedly Davato, it was uh, it was a mission he had been sent by his own Pili, right? That's what he said. So I went straight to Playboy, or in this case, Toro. With that, with all due respect, please get a Playboy. This fool by the Placaso Mousy from East Side, he's claiming in '08, '09, he pretended to lock it up. He went over there and was back because he booked someone, and that was what he was meant to do, right? Now it wasn't far fetched because there was Peelies doing it on the up and ups with vatos and on the shady grounds, right? What I mean by that is basically sending camaradas on kamikaze missions and going over there and taking care of a couple deals and come back and todo bien, right? And then there were some that were already on shady grounds. They were used to go over there, mess up their whole career, and come back and get whacked, and removed from the program. So again, I had to address it. Couldn't just shine it, and yeah, it was true, that I guess Playboy sent Mousy over there to take care of somebody, but the names didn't match. That's how maybe just being nosy, right? You could tell it was one of them favors things, he's my homie type of thing. And it was odd when it came to Playboy because again, he had his hands in a lot, just dealing with pipelines and avenues on his own, right? No middlemans per se. And then when you speak about Playboy, you got to speak with respect, right? It's a huge neighborhood, not just in LA, but I know a lot of homies from Stockton. Throughout the system, I must have met three, four homies that were busted in Cali from Washington that basically they were just following the Pili or the Pili's wishes, right? Which leads me to the next thing, right? Like I said, you gotta stay relevant and Pili's talk, when you're able to bring whatever to the table, Pili's talk, right? So since we had started a conversation regarding Mousy, uh, it flipped to Toro telling me, hey, CEO so and so, well, he's trustworthy. He'll take everything straight to Shorty. You know, he wants you to get at him. There's a little issue that he wants to converse with you with. So of course, dispuesto and right away, it was Billy's request, and you got to step on that, and I did. And his reply was, there was two cliques, the one in Washington, the one in Eureka. There was a small clique up in Eureka, Playboys, and basically he was having problems putting candy and toys up there, right? He wanted to know if I knew any mulas or homies that would do us a favor and if I knew somebody that could touch down up there, right? Because whatever he was doing, again, it was more of a down south type of thing, right? And or he just didn't want to ask, which that's my belief. Because if he's working straightforward with them, with the feria, wherever you request them to put it at, they'll do it. There's no hesitations, but then again, he didn't want to owe them any favors, and or just a lot of things play out. Anyways, I told him, Simon, I knew that the homie that was on the streets at the moment from Stockton, he was staying in the town, uh, young dopey, right? And his girlfriend was white, so I could see if I could touch that angle to see if they could do us a favor. But what was he looking for? And it was easy, right? It was meth. Meth is like the easiest thing to get and move, right? I guess you just have to have that trust. So at first I told him, let me look into it. I want to have a visit, and then could send word that one day, then the next day I'll get the answer and I'll let you know. So that weekend, everything was asked. The next day I got the answer, right? Which was Simon. Just tell him what day, how many, and for less than 10, they weren't gonna go up there. Just uh, Eureka's a whole different thing, but Washington, they were hesitant. They would keep prices and everything to get it up there, but for less than 10, they wouldn't do it. Which at the end of the day, it was cool. It was cool. Well, we'll just say he wanted a lot more than 10, right? To get up there, because just imagine the Peely's mindset, right? When you think about Playboys and him running them from Washington to Eureka, Stockton, all down south, out of state. You got to give him props for that, because he was a hands-on type of Peely, right? So, anyways, to not make this story long, right? Duppy found the Ubers to go up to Washington. And basically, when it came to prices, it was better for at least my family, right, to put it in SR, and then from there they take care of business, right? And it wasn't much, right? Let's just say five of them things would have gotten them the same price in SR and in Washington, but the Pili didn't want them five. He just rather have them in SR and just have put the responsibility on Dopey to get him up there, right? Which everything went to the dot, right? The first round, the second round. By that time, Pelon was out. He had parole, from Crescent City, so he met up with Dopey, and he stayed, right? And well, basically, he wanted to put another 3-0 up there. Feria there, everything, dando y dando, pajarito volando type of thing, which, again, that's respectful, right? But me being on the yard with Dopey, and knowing Pelon, I stuck my nose, you could say, like a camarada, and basically told him, look, fool, you're going into a whole new state. Even though it's the same barrio, my respect to you guys' barrio is none of my business, but they look at politics different. I seen it throughout the years. Is they fall in line, but it's not ingrained in them the way it is to us, right? For example, Dopey being on SR, Pelon getting there was never an issue, right? Because first off, the neighborhoods in SR, overall, we get along. We welcome Sureños, right? Don't matter where you're from, we got way too many enemies to be tripping on than to trip on each other. So, you're welcome. At least in my neighborhood, you're from Lowe's, from the Valle, you're from anywhere. In reality, you just with the level left, you're welcome, right? To party and chill, and you will be treated as one of our own. But unfortunately, not everybody thinks so, right? And with my utmost respects, I'm going to say this. We all know that you could say gang capital started in Lowe's, right? But there is some individuals from LA that really take it too far. That's why a lot of people got problems with homies from Los Angeles. They feel they're untouchable, and it rubs people the wrong ways. For example, myself being from Northern California, going anywhere and thinking I'm more chingon than your neighborhood because I'm from SR, right? It just rubs people the wrong way. And I didn't say this, but when I was giving that warning, it had to do with Pelon. In reality, he was that way, right? And getting out of the bay was just one of them machingon type of thing, right? Level 50s and stuff, type of individual. And he looked like a youngster straight up. And anyways, again, I was nobody. I was just advising the homie, like, just go up in there, go with respect, show your homies respect from Washington. My most worriness is get the Peelies dope up there because he already paid the Feria. And it was none of my business. I'll be straight up with you. Like I said, the way I did things was I'll plug you in with the familia. He says, Simon, you like it, you two take it from there. I don't want nothing out of it because I know me receiving anything brings strings attached, and I was never raised to be a dummy like that, right? Mm. Anyways, here's the twist. It's like I jinxed it, right? But I'm just not stupid. I seen it throughout the years, right? A lot of homies from mostly LA, I'll be honest. And again, I don't mean no disrespect. I've had some solid homies from Lowe's, right? That they're camaradas in and out, right? But you guys know, like everywhere, there's high power individuals. They take it too far. And I knew Pelon personally, right? And basically, they went out there and they minimized Playboys from Washington to an extent, right? That I guess Pelon got told a couple times, even Dopey told him, like, chill, fool. You're rubbing these guys the wrong way. Plus, they were on a mission, right? When you're on a mission, you're on a service. You take the candy in, you receive what you're going to receive. Any messages? No, okay, cool, I'm gone. Not that, like, hey, let's do a little bottle of Playboy style. You guys stay. Oh, Simon. Hell no, you're under responsibilities, right? But anyways, the homies stayed at man, alcohol and dope, right? And basically the two homies I'm speaking on, they got dome. They got taken out by playboys out there, right? And with this, it was a trip because the one that saw everything was a hyena. She brought it to Toto's attention from Playboys, right? Which was following through with things. And of course, Toto brought it to Shorty. But at the end of the day, Shorty didn't give up. You know, he said, I don't even want to hear what happened or through what happened. The homies from Washington are still responding to me. They're still, per se, reaching out with the feria the way they're supposed to. These two idiots, this was his exact words, right? You know, and I'm telling you because that I'm appeal followed me to look at it, right? Because again, I had that problem, right, to follow through with things. Went up there, decided to go out of bounds, stay in party, and whatever happened, happened, and it's none of our business. They're out the picture. I guess Toto didn't sit well with that, you know. And well, I'll just say Mousy disrespected Toto, and everything was through on my appeal. It wasn't like, hey, I'm lying now. Here it is in black and white, right? But till this day, I don't know what Shorty was so fond of Mousy, right? It was just one of them things that for me it never settled right. You locked it up, you locked it up point blank. Okay, you went did a mission, came back, you still went to that side you have to go. You know, especially if it takes a year for you to pull the mission. Hell no. Miss me with that, right? But anyways, when push came to shove, Shorty gave Mousy the right to pass the kite around that Toto was not on the program no more. He wasn't to be considered a camarada. Imagine that. A fool that locked it up for a year came back and got a pass on whatever reason. That shouldn't even be an issue or even have any type of weight, right? He's trash. But nevertheless, after that, guess who took control of everything for Shorty when it came to reaching up north? Me, shortly after that, I went to the feds, you know, and again, he must wiggle differently because, as far as I heard in the feds, he was playing in Washington still. But anyways, this is just a glimpse inside on how the program is now. You know, you got a Pili from one angle. He holds a lot of power, a lot of strength mentally. You know, to be hands-on on a neighborhood as big as Playboys, and to minimize camaradas that are loyal to him like that. And what it's about, it wasn't even over dope because Mousy wasn't able to tap into none of that favoritism. Mousy was giving him money. He was paying his stay. But at the same time he's paying his stay, he's controlling all the solid cliques from Playboys. Think about that. You're following program. You're honoring your Pili. Hey, so and so is the one throwing cuetazos here. You can't question it. But then you come to realize he's no good. He's been no good for a whole year. And he did one of them. debriefers move, right? To get off the yard, you just scratch somebody, you didn't even whack them that good. But that's what the program has become. So enjoy those true to you, enjoy your freedom, stay true to yourself and loyal to your loved ones.
This is what we started. We always